Hey there, Frater Xavier. You want information, facts, but I can only inform you of a hunch I have regarding the attacks. The curse that is bothering you. It seems similar to something I went through recently. I don't want to offend you, you're a very bright person, but I think you are making a big mistake by talking about this curse and these attacks that are bothering you on your channel. You have over 2,000 subscribers and you talk about this curse as if it's a real thing. Most of your subscribers will believe you. Is that what you want? A real curse, real enemies. You have power and responsibility with this channel, and you have to be careful with what you talk about. In the beginning, you are really laid back. Now you have enemies and you issue warnings to people that you will take their souls if they make you paranoid. I will take their souls. I don't like saying this, but I think you're making yourself paranoid. I'm sad to hear about the loss of your pet, and I believe you when you say you've gone through a really rough time recently, but you must not forget that you have a responsibility towards your viewers. You make an impact on people's minds. Do you want people to consider whether they have been cursed? You may be making people paranoid, and it's only natural for this to reflect in your own life as well. Change the focus of your channel to lighter things. Bring back the humor, the laid-back style you had in the beginning, and your life could well change in a similar way. This advice is based on personal experience. Do with it what you want. I could very well be wrong. Make up your own mind. Whatever you do, I wish you the best. Okay, so this individual makes all valid points. However, they're made under the assumption that the hex wasn't real. But first of all, what do curses and hexes generally do aside from any physical effects? Well, generally, they make you lose sleep, keep you off balance, and drive you crazy, thus making you paranoid. This is what they do. Now, if it was just the month's worth of lost sleep and my pet going from perfect health to nothing in that time, then maybe I would have been reading into it more than I should have. However, the pet and the lost sleep was only the prominent feature. There were many other things that happened during the same time. It's just that the loss of my favorite pet was the most devastating. I've had other things that I value literally fall apart in my hands from picking them up. No pop, no break, no snap. They just literally fell apart, which is bizarre. I had an infestation of flies in the house that I could not pinpoint the source, meaning I would kill one and two more would show up. And not just house flies, there were other types of flies as well, although house flies seem to be the most common. Flies are evidence of the presence of Saturnine energy, meaning they're only around things of decay, entropy, death, things that are spoiling, filth, that type of thing. And I run a pretty clean ship. And they were present pretty much for that entire month. I still have the odd one popping up here and there. However, it's not like it was. Interestingly enough, after burying my pet, there were hundreds of flies hanging around the gravesite. And there were other things that happened that were red flags to me as well. The point is, it takes a lot to throw me off balance, and this certainly did. And to me, that's a hex and a curse. Now, could my being off balance and resulting paranoia from the loss of sleep and everything feed into that? Absolutely. And that's where this individual has a very valid point, because we do tend to bring about what we think about, and any energies that have been sent to us will feed off of that. So it really is a matter of getting back to center, finding your center in the midst of the storm, which, I'm doing. Things have been getting a bit better. There have been a few other weird things that have happened, but for the most part, I'm feeling a lot more grounded. And I couldn't teach while I'm off balance. You can't do it. I have no business teaching if I'm that off balance, but I have to keep this channel going in the meantime. So as we know, what goes in has to come out. And so I've been talking about recent events. In the midst of all this happening, I did have a powwow with our good old friend Uncle Birch from the Sacred Grove. And as I was telling him about it, the first thing that came into his mind was a hex. And he had told me that if it can't get to you specifically, it will go for other things such as your pets. He's had it happen himself. Whatever this thing was, it was intelligent enough to know how and where to hit me. It knew my weak spots to throw me off balance and to get me scrambling to shore up my defenses. Now, there are many ways for these things to be brought about. It's not always somebody casting against you. It could be that you've angered some spirit or spirits. Usually nature spirits. I don't think that's the case in this particular instance, but it's possible. Breaking your sacred vows, which includes your promises and contracts with spirits, can also bring about these types of things. Again, I don't think that's the case here, as I don't have vows, and all the promises that I make the spirits, I write down, and I'm not seeing anything in my notes that would indicate that I haven't fulfilled the promise. However, I have been making reparations to any angry spirits just in case, on the off chance that I've missed something. Always fulfill your promises if you contract with spirits. And then that leaves people who are casting against you. However, it doesn't even have to be a magician or someone who even knows magic. All it takes is somebody to be really angry with you. And sometimes that's enough. In the book Protection and Reversal Magic, a Witch's Defense Manual by Jason Miller, which I recommend, by the way. People are always asking me for book recommendations. Well, here's one. He talks about somebody that was mad at him for him refusing to do a favor for him, and that was enough to break one of his amulets and get through his defenses. And this person wasn't even magically inclined or into the occult. Now, a couple of quotes from that book. He says, quote, "Sometimes even magicians have a hard time admitting that they are under attack. Many tend to overestimate their abilities or think that whatever regular protections they use are infallible. It is an ego blow to admit that someone or something could get to us, and so we convince ourselves otherwise. This is particularly true if you are in a leadership or teaching position in a magical group, where you may fear people will not see you as qualified if you admit to being the victim of an attack." And this is certainly true. I mean, this is, it certainly ran through my mind that what business do I have teaching about defense if things are getting through my defenses? However, he goes on to say, quote, "In general, I think it's good to keep two things in mind. The first is that no one is impervious to psychic attack of some kind. Basic banishings, shields, and amulets will protect you from most accidental psychic attacks and general malefic energies that you may encounter. They will even protect you from most intentional magical attacks, but no technique is foolproof. No matter what level of initiation you possess and how powerful you think you are not impervious, and you should bear that in mind. The second thing to keep in mind is that there is no harm in defending against an attack that may not be happening, but great harm can come from ignoring a real attack that you tell yourself isn't happening. Play it on the safe side." End quote. So it's about regaining your balance. You want to play it on the safe side, and yet you don't want to feed into the hex and curse itself and make it self-perpetuating. And when you have been knocked off balance, it's not all that easy to regain that balance in the midst of all that going on. But we learn from it, and then we move on. Someone wanted to know how I would use the notice I put up in a magical operation. Pretty much the same as what I do for most reversals. I bring it to a higher court. I quote scripture, particularly the Psalms, against evildoers. Present my evidence. I would present the notice that I had put up, and I would let the divine decide, for it is not my place to pass judgment. I'm only pleading my case, stating my case, and my intentions of what I want done. However, it's up to the divine to decide whether or not it is warranted. I know someone wanted to debate with me on the validity of that notice. However, it doesn't matter. What matters is what the divine and the subconscious mind believes in that context. That's all that really matters. And I've used similar notices to great effect. Similar in context, not similar in price. I don't go around collecting people's souls or anything, but drastic times call for drastic measures. One last word about the new paid subscription channel. I noticed a few people have been going over there and subscribing already. It's not ready yet, and it may not be. Although it says I'm eligible for a paid subscription channel and monetization, YouTube has monetization turned off, which if you don't have that turned on, you cannot have subscriptions. So there's a catch-22, and YouTube and Google, you can't actually get a hold of anybody to rectify the situation. So I'm going to give it a little more time, and if I cannot get that working, then I will take other steps. And I will see you next week. Take care.